Are you wondering what made a number of prominent players in NBA criminals, thus bringing their careers to a halt? Well, the NBA is one of the popular leagues in America and is exposed to the continuous limelight. Each and every act of its famous players are scrutinized by the public and the press. Especially when the matter is one of controversy and crime, people have all eyes and ears to it. In such scenarios, any player getting arrested becomes the talk of the town, especially when that player is from the NBA league. So, if you often wonder why the NBA players are playing with ankle monitors or are being allowed to play only on bail, you may figure it out by the end of this video. As we are going to reveal today the list of top 14 players who apparently became criminals, we will be investigating the instances as to what turned them into it. So here we start with the first one, J.R. Smith. J.R. Smith, though might not be included in the list of the players with criminal records, but recently while the NBA championship was about to start, he was caught without a driver's license when he was having fun at South Beach. He was straight away given the ticket. This is not the first time that he has been booked for the same. In fact, it would not be wrong to say that he often gets speeding tickets, as speeding looks like one of his fantasies that he enjoys the most. But this came with a lesson for him when he lost his friend in one such speeding tragedy. The reason he always got away very easily from these tickets and has been evading the criminal records is because of the best lawyer that he has. It was his fortunate luck that in spite of him driving at such a high speed kept him alive, and he just got a mere injury on his shoulder. But losing his best friend Andre Bell due to his recklessness made him serve a minimum of 30 days in jail at such a young age of 23 years. This terrible accident also cost him his career. The punishments for such crimes are way too harsher, and he could have been booked for even 15 years, which could have brought his career to an end. But he was lucky enough to serve only a few days along with the cancellations of his license for 2 years. Undoubtedly, J.R. Smith is one of the best stars of the NBA with such a high championship potential. But this incident doesn't exempt him any less from being a criminal. Number 2. Kendrick Perkins. Kendrick Perkins is another player who was caught in the traps of law. Last year, he was picked up in the nightclub for the charges of intoxication and attempting to create a ruckus. After a confrontation early Saturday morning in South Texas, authorities accused Oklahoma City Thunder forward Kendrick Perkins of misdemeanor, disorderly conduct, and public intoxication. According to the statement that was given by the Mound police, authorities had noticed a big crowd outside the Ticket nightclub shortly after 2 a.m. and received reports of fights and pepper spray inside. Perkins, who police said was attempting to assault the club's management, was surrounded by around 50 individuals inside, according to an officer. The mob forced Perkins out the back entrance of the club, where he continued to hurl obscenities and cause more confrontations, according to the statement. Number 3. Dennis Rodman. Well, Rodman is not an expected player on the list of criminals. After all, he is one of the most likely people to be arrested. A number of charges have been levied against him, starting from drunk driving up to domestic violence cases. He has been booked for public offenses as well. For a long time, Rodman has been renowned for his extravagant, all-or-nothing attitude. He began his career with a playoff club in Detroit, but it had little impact on his way of living. For the first 7 years of his career, the Worm claims he partied almost every day. This was only available during Rodman's stint with the Pistons, and he believes he was arrested over 100 times for various offenses during that time. Dennis Rodman has been arrested twice for domestic assault, twice for drunken driving, obstructing justice, and domestic dispute, and his Newport Beach home has been visited by police over 70 times for noise violations. Number 5. Sebastian Telfair. His unstoppable wins and efforts made him reach heights as a basketball player, so much so that he was seldom referred to as the next LeBron James. Though his smartness saved him a few times before being finally arrested, his luck couldn't put aside his misdemeanor for a very long time. In one of his controversial incidents, besides exceeding the speed limit and driving with a suspended license, he was caught in possession of a handgun. Irrespective of whom it belonged to, he was suspended for 3 years from the NBA as he was booked for the possession of that handgun. Things got even worse when in 2017 in Brooklyn, on his car search, he was found to be carrying a .45 caliber loaded handgun under the passenger seat. There was no more hope left with his career considering the 15 years of imprisonment that was levied against him. But to the contrary, being a rich millionaire, he had to survive only 3.5 years in jail and got his bail by paying $500,000. So he still remains a famous NBA player despite his criminal records. Number 5. Jason Richardson. Jason Richardson, with his recklessness in his past, has not only risked his life and his career, but has also made his entire fan doubt his fatherhood. In 2009, while he was driving with his son in the car, he went much over the speed limit. Though it did not lead to any mishaps, it did definitely risk his career and his fan following. He was traveling with a 3-year-old son without fastening the seatbelt for him. He was put on charges of driving recklessly, excessive speeding, and failure to use a child's seatbelt. But this did not amount to his imprisonment for more than a few hours. However, the NBA ultimately decided to suspend him, which led to the loss of $111,000 for Richardson. Though this did not ruin his career, that doesn't make him any less criminal. Number 6. Javaris Crittenton. With such a decent and inspiring past, it is highly unexpected of Javaris to be charged with murder. At just 19 years of age, he had reached the peak of his career, but his life took a wrong turn thereafter. He started being famous for the wrong reasons, starting from gambling to possession of a firearm, then being a member of a gangster force, and ultimately he was put to the most disastrous charge of his life and career for murder. While he was in Atlanta, he was robbed by a known rival gang. They took his necklace, watch, iPhone, and even the remaining cash with him. In the fire of rage, he hit Julian Jones and was thus a killer forever. An investigation led to enough evidence for charges against him, and thus he was a declared criminal. Number 7. Glenn Robinson. Did you know that he was a domestic abuser to the extent that it ruined his career? He has been convicted by a jury of domestic battery and assault charges. In one of the series of events, he was found to enter her ex-fiance's house at night, and in the heat of anger, he forced her upstairs and beat her. He forced her to give him the gun back which he had previously kept with her, threatening that he would shoot himself. Her ex-fiancé somehow managed to call the police and get him arrested. After the decision of the jury, his career came to a halt. Though this was not the sole reason, with this label, he couldn't continue with the NBA and his career ended much ahead of time, although after a long struggle, he did try and win championships before his final retirement. Number 8. Deshawn Stevenson. Stevenson, as an NBA star, was offered multiple opportunities throughout his career, but his competence as a person came to be questioned when he was charged with the rape of a minor. Since the incident happened when the girls were drunk on alcohol, nothing could be stated as a clear fact as such for a long time. Deshawn Stevenson was also arrested for public drunkenness in Irving, Texas on Tuesday night, just 2 days after the team won its first NBA title. After receiving a complaint of an inebriated person roaming in the vicinity, Irving police were dispatched to the Grand Venetian apartment complex at about 10:30 p.m. CT. Stevenson, who does not live in the facility, was said to be inebriated and unsure of his whereabouts by officers. Stevenson told Dallas TV station KDFW that he was hunting for his phone in the parking lot after partying with others at a friend's apartment. Number 9. Charles E. Smith. Charles Smith is one of those NBA players who had even won bronze in the Olympics. Unfortunately, in 1991, Smith was arrested for killing 2 female students while he was returning from a club and was intoxicated. After being convicted in the March 1991 killings of two Boston University students, Charles Smith spent approximately 2.5 years in the Suffolk County, Massachusetts House of Corrections. After a 3-day jury trial, Smith was sentenced to 4.5 years in prison. He was found guilty of vehicular murder and abandoning an accident scene. Number 10. Eddie Johnson. Eddie Johnson may though be known for his forte as a basketball player in the NBA, his drug abuse was already known to everyone by the 1980s, which was undoubtedly one of the prominent reasons for his declining career in the NBA. But this came as a major highlight in 2006 when he was convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment for the charges of assault against an underage girl. He was also penalized for the same offense against a 25-year-old woman. Number 11. Sam Cassell. Sam Cassell, along with his two other teammates, was held for assaulting a male stripper and his fiancée in a nightclub. Following an altercation outside a Toronto strip club 4 years ago, a couple, both former strippers, and their children are suing the NBA, the Milwaukee Bucks, and 3 players for Canadian $18 million, $15.7 million. The claim was named Gary Payton, Sam Cassell, and Jason Caffey, all of whom were players with the Milwaukee Bucks at the time of the incident, as well as the NBA and the Bucks. When the incident occurred in 2003, Adrian Simpian, a male stripper, and his then-girlfriend Vida Asante were both working at different downtown clubs. Number 12. Shawn Kemp. NBA star Shawn Kemp has taken his team to finals twice, and he's seldom referred to as a Rain Man. He was arrested for possession of cocaine and semi-automatic weapons. Shawn Kemp, a former Seattle Supersonics power forward, was arrested when authorities pulled over his pickup truck and discovered marijuana and cocaine. Around 1 a.m., an officer in Shoreline, a suburb north of Seattle, had smelled a strong whiff of marijuana while speaking with 2 guys in a parked Chevrolet truck. According to the sheriff's office, the officer discovered a tiny amount of cocaine, around 60 grams of marijuana, and a semi-automatic weapon after searching the truck. This mistake that he made for fun cost him for life, as he was thrown from the NBA and was later left in a jail cell for years. Number 13. Ron Artest. The fans of Ron Artest would be disappointed to know that though he is known for his versatile skills as an NBA player, he has been booked with various kinds of crimes in the past. This did not become a matter of criminal charges, yet he was under the controversial limelight in between for domestic abuses. He also assaulted one of his fans, for which he was banned from the NBA for 1 year. He was also in the news for quite some time over matters pertaining to animal negligence. In 2004, Sacramento Kings basketball player Ron Artest was involved in one of the most well-known brawls in American sports history, as well as being charged with domestic abuse. Artest was detained at his home in Loomis, California, a suburb of Sacramento, by local police. Officials refused to reveal if the victim was his wife, citing privacy rules. According to the Placer County Sheriff's Office, Artest was arrested for domestic abuse and for hindering a victim from reporting a crime, a total of 2 counts. Lastly, we have number 14, Charles Barkley. This might sound surprising for many, as he has had an all-star career, but that doesn't stop a person from committing a crime. His charges are the most dramatic ones. Aside from doing crazy stuff like spitting on his fans during his game against the New Jersey Nets and the offense of assaulting inside the court, he has been charged for a crossing red light area and drunken driving as well. Barkley was suspended for 1 day and a fine of $10,000 was imposed upon him for spitting and hitting a young girl. He became the top news and subject of criticism. So, though he might be a round mound of rebound in courts, he cannot evade being an offender. His strength and aggression were thus not limited to basketball court, but were explicit in legal court as well. So these NBA personalities may look very mesmerizing, but their personal lives have a lot to reveal about their criminal records. If you've enjoyed this video, please check out our other videos. Until then, stay tuned.